Welcome to the JBDC Virtual Biz Zone for Tuesday, September 26, 2023. I am Ashika Townsend, Integrated Marketing Officer at JBDC, and I am your host for this morning. This morning, we will be exploring the final topic in our logistics series. The theme for today is Omni-Channel Retailing, and will be presented by our own Marketing Services Unit Manager, Janine Taylor. Janine Fletcher-Taylor has a professional background in strategic planning and operations management, marketing, as well as development management specialist with approximately 29 years working experience with Grace Kennedy Exporting Trading Limited, Business Management Limited ATL Group, and the management of the Things Jamaican chain and the marketing service unit at the JBDC. She has an academic background in a Master's of Science in Psychology, Masters of Arts in Arts and Culture Management, a postgrad in Poverty Alleviation and International Development, undergraduate studies in Finance and Accounting, Business Administration with a major in Marketing. We will also share a link in the chat closer to the end of the presentation so that you can provide your feedback. Feel free to post your questions in the chat and our presenter will answer as many as possible. Without further ado, I hand over to Mrs. Taylor.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me. And today we're going to be talking about a very big topic, but it cannot be too big for any business today because it is what is going to keep us relevant once we are in the business of retailing, trade, and commerce. I'm going to just share my screen. So, omnichannel and retailing. And before I get into the meat of the matter, we must be wondering what we mean by channel. I mean, there are several uses of the word in marketing and in business development and in retailing. So I would want to contextualize the use of the word channel in relation to this discussion this morning. A channel or market channel is specifically referring to the channel or the avenue through which a customer meets your company and your products and services. The well-known ones are retailing, wholesaling. We have e-commerce now. We have what is called brick and mortar versus online shopping versus social media channels. There are a host of channels opening up in the space. Hence the reason why the term omnichannel is emerging, simply because the customer is now in charge. Prior to this era, you would have a brick and mortar store established, located at a particular location or maybe multiple locations. And in order for a customer to get a product or service, they would have to go to the specific location. It would get even more challenging to access the services and the products if they only had one option. We then move on into how the digital age would have transformed this experience. And then what are some of the distinguishing features between the options that are currently on the board? So we have the single store, which is the traditional, original retailing process. We have e-commerce. We have multi-channel, and then we have omni-channel. Each of these terms have distinguishing features, and we're going to just jump right into that. So when we talk about omni-channel, what we're talking about really is all the traditional and emerging channels coming together in a seamless operation. And when we are going to be examining exactly what does that mean versus what we have now, let us talk about the single channel first. A single channel can be any one of the options that we showed earlier. It could be either I have an e-commerce platform, or I have a brick and mortar store, or I might have an Instagram store, or just my home, for want of a better word, but it's just one source of access to the product. A multi-channel operation or a business that is claiming to have a multi-channel operation will have more than one of these sources or more than one of these channels. However, they operate discreetly. That means my brick and mortar, I have a brick and mortar store and persons can come there and shop. I also have an online store or an e-commerce platform that persons can opt to use. However, those two operations are separate from each other, and the customer then decides which one to choose. When you get into the omni-channel situation, what we are expecting to experience is that the customer does not need to decide between one or the other and then do the transaction. The customer can start the journey, which is maybe inquiry or search through Google. It can be through social media. They can start their journey there and end up in the brick and mortar at the final aspect of their decision making, which is to make the payment. They have the option to do the transaction anywhere at any time using any channel. And that means, therefore, that the intricate nature of the logistics and the back end of that business is where it is for the omni-channel situation. It's not so much about having the different channels, but the systems and processes in place in the back end that enable the customer to not have to close one side of the transaction to go to the next side of the transaction. That is some serious data management, because you want to ensure now that you're not starting the customer over each time they go to another channel. And that is where omni-channel becomes a little bit more technical in terms of business processes. So if you were to now think about being a retailer and you have a brick and mortar store, you know that you need to now move into the 21st century and get some online footprint going. Either that is a website, an e-commerce platform, some social media channels. You can always start at that point, but what the market is saying now is that unless the movement of the customer is seamless, you are really still offering just multi-channel. And I'm going to go through some stats later on to show you how this is impacting trade. So just to give a little bit more insight now into why are we moving into this direction, what was happening, what has triggered all of this. In the first instance, a customer expected to have access to a product or service through a convenient experience and use different channels to make their decisions. Now, that means that I am either a brick and mortar type of shopper, or I'm either online type of shopper, and I want to go to just this one place to make the purchase in order to get the goods and service. Then came the digital age, because the digital age did not just introduce information via internet and social media. It introduced a mechanism to complete a transaction without a customer stepping foot into your establishment. That was a major transformation in the retail industry, because we moved the notion of convenience. Because you remember in the old days, you know, when we were setting up this business and we talk about the 4 Ps, we would talk about place. And what that meant was that you needed to make sure that your brick and mortar was located within a geographical region that had your target market. It must have been accessible or visible or placed in such a place that would give you access to your target market. That is retail driven. That is the business. It's business driven, not necessarily client driven. Multi-channel now said, okay, I don't have a store in the US, but I have an e-commerce platform. So a potential US customer would not need to travel to Jamaica to get the product. They would be able to go online. But when you look at my operations, I would immediately have to start 2 different businesses, even though it's under the one umbrella. all the processes for e-commerce and online shopping, which we would have gone through in the other series, would somewhat be discrete from what is happening in the brick and mortar channel, even if there was information. So even if I went to the brick and mortar store and they gave me the website, unless I could do a part of the transaction in the store and on the website, that's not omni-channel, that's still multi-channel. It's just having different access points. Then we are now introduced to the aspect, this term called touch points. And touch points is very literal. Where, when, how does a customer interact with your business and your products? Where will they see it? How will they know about it? At any point or location that they can interact with your product, that is classified as a touch point. Then we would have been introduced to the term customer journey. And I spoke about having a cell phone, maybe going online and researching. For example, I want to go to a car wash and I'm in Kingston. I'm not really familiar with Kingston. I may go on Google Maps and I say, tell me the nearest car wash outlet. It would then ask me for my location and then it would direct me there. At that moment that I am interacting with the information on Google Maps, that's a touch point. That touch point is then directing me to another touch point. And I would go through the various stages depending on the type of customer I am and my own unique behavior. I would go through maybe 3 touch points or maybe 6 until my transaction is completed. Given the nature of the car wash, I would definitely have to eventually go to the brick and mortar or a physical location to get the car wash. I don't think AI has figured out yet how to do car washing via the internet. So for some products and services, we would see here now why you can never just eliminate the original channel called the brick and mortar. We're going to get into some stats around this, right? So this is how we are here today on Omni-Channel shopping. It's really about what the consumers have demanded. They no longer just want convenience. They want seamlessness. They want information. They want immediacy, speed, time, convenience, quality, all the standard retailing experiences plus. So they must not at any point in time feel that you are somehow diminishing their original expectation of retail shopping. So what do we mean by seamless? The most important thing about omni-shopping, omni-channel retailing is the data management system that allows you to interact with the potential customer on any device, any source, any information source, any channel. That means that whatever systems you have in place, when the customer engages with your first touch point, you should be able to track and see the movement of that customer moving through the system. What are they looking for? So we're talking about search history. We're talking about what words they are typing in to search. What are the typical websites that they would go to find your product or service, or to find just information generally. And then how does that information recommend your product and service? So data management is what is driving the ability to do omni-channel shopping. It also means that given the various devices that they're using, you're going to have simultaneous shopping processes across channels. What does that mean? I could walk into a brick and mortar store and I could say, I like that dress and I want it in size 10, pink. But that particular store might not have the item. But I want that item to be at my home by the end of the day. Your system should be able to give you enough data to tell the customer exactly if you have the product, when it's going to come to them, and the customer can then pay for the item in your store or online. That's what we mean by seamless. Whatever decisions the shopper is trying to make, whatever they're comfortable doing, it must be accessible to them. And that's what makes it come together. They are the ones that are now determining what pathways they take. So I might not necessarily be very good at online shopping. I need to touch the thing, I need to feel it. But I can do 80% of that shopping journey on my phone and then make the decision on which outlet to go to. So again, what we're seeing, especially in the diagram, is basically so many business processes are involved in the back end, but what the customer experiences is one seamless thing. I'm inquiring about a product, I identify a product, I buy the product, I receive the product, regardless of how I go about doing it and how many of my processes as a retailer they have engaged with, right? So that means that in terms of logistics and just operations in general, you're going to be affecting things that we call the sales channels. Now speak to that. It's going to be impacting your inventory management process, and it's going to impact your marketing and branding strategies. All these various business processes will now have to become seamless across the operation. Now, when we talk about sales channel, we have retailer, we have wholesaler, we have e-commerce, we have brick and mortar. You are the owner of the brick and mortar and the online platform, but you have a third-party relationship with your retailer or your wholesaler, typically your wholesaler. Whatever experience the customer is having with one channel should be the same across all channels. And that is the empowerment that the consumer has now with access to omni-channel systems. That means that if you have one of these channels, a store, and I use this as a plug to preach to entrepreneurs to document processes. Stop running away from the big word, standard operating procedures, because these actions are the foundation actions that help you to transition to this level of business model, right? It is imperative that you understand how all the dots in your system connect, how it moves from production to warehousing, to storage, to access, to transportation, to all of it. Because if you are going to consider offering omni-channel shopping and omni-channel features in your business model, all these things would have had to be sorted out before. And then now you have the added challenge of integrating them so that the customer, listen, the customer is not interested in all of those points and things coming together. They are only interested in having a beautiful retail experience, desiring something to purchase, accessing it, getting it, with all the expectations of quality and pricing and all those other features. So this is all on now the retailer. And because of that, we then call this kind of business model a customer-centric model. So omni-channel retailing is a customer-centric business model. Some time ago, BizZone would have done an episode on what a customer-centric business looks like. I invite you to search for that webinar and see how now you may not have a choice but to make your business customer-centric if you're going to be relevant in the coming years. And when you talk about a customer-centric business, we may say, all right, I am opening, my operating hours are 9 to 5. That helps me to control my staff cost and my team and all of the things. It keeps it contained and I'm able to manage it. And then your customers say, look, 9 o'clock, don't cut it. I need to get to work by 9 o'clock. I need you to be open at 6 o'clock in the morning. The type of business that would consider the amount of business or clients that are saying that and change their operating hours to 6 o'clock is the kind of business that you would consider a customer-centric business. It means that their operations, their performance, their goods and services, their team, up to the very selection of their team, how do these team members fit with the culture and the receptiveness of the type of customers I'm taking in. All these things are considered in a customer-centric business. And therefore, when you look at how omni-channel retailing works, it means therefore that I have to have significant information about my customers' buying behavior to determine which channels I need to have, what I need to invest in, and how I need to move goods around and move services around and move the experience around so that the customer has the ideal experience that they're looking for. That is a sort of major driving force behind forcing businesses today, especially retailers, because retailers are not necessarily the persons making the products, right? And so a lot of times they are making decisions simply based on the numbers, how much money, how much revenue I can make, how much profit I can make, what are my margins. If we continue to operate in that way without focusing on what the customer is demanding, then eventually we will become irrelevant in this era, because what the customer is saying, I tell you how I want to experience buying your type of product. And that is why even the very operating hours are affected. So retailers will now have to start thinking like their customers. You will know, so now we start to hear about customer persona. That's where this is coming from. Before we would have a target market with some variables, age, gender, so and so. I would create a map. I would say, all right, this is the typical behavior of everybody in this bundle right here. With the emerging trends of how information is flowing to customers, and customers are now having a more discerning appetite, and they're having more control, the balance of power has shifted over to the customer. So you can't just sell at any price. They're going to come and tell you, well, I got to hardware and lumber and I see it, but I see the same thing at True Value for that. Are you willing to reduce it? They have more control over their decision making. So that means that you are now going to be forced to understand and know that customer and seek to optimize the customer's experience. The omni-channel business is not targeting quick sales, immediate sales, because sometimes the type of investment, not just financial investment, but also investment in content, just social media. You may be on social media for a very long time, just conversing with potential customers before you get a transaction. Is that a waste of time? You would have to decide. But for the omni-channel business, they are willing to identify all the different touch points that have been accessed by their ideal customer and meet them there. And that means that the investment and the turnaround is not necessarily one of a quick conversion, but certainly establishing what we call customer retention, which means that by the time I'm done engaging with this customer, I give them an article about natural herbs. And then I tell them about the benefits in little notes on Instagram. Then I do a before and after video on TikTok. I don't start selling them yet, you know. I'm just telling them the benefits of the ingredients of my product. By the time they have established that you are a valid source of information regarding skincare and you introduce your soap, then that is where your customer behavior is going now. So it's not just they have the right price, It's all the different things combined in that customer journey that is influencing their decision to buy, make a purchase from you, and to stay with you, even though another person may have it. Another person may have the same product, but they have not provided as much information. Another person may have the same sauce, but they have not shown or done any YouTube videos on how to use the sauce in a meal. So you kind of get a sense of what is involved in the investment for omni-channel business. The omni-channel business is also focused on continuously improving customer profitability rather than sales growth. What does that mean? The omni-channel business see the customer as an investment. I pour into the customer. That is why you will have service-based business. For example, some of this information that I got was from a point-of-sale software provider. And they went through the task of developing content, what they call white papers, on just information that is relevant to any retailer. They have gone into operations, they have gone into recommendations, they have gone into analytics, they have gone into so much information being provided by the retailer that by the time the retailer has searched on Google and has attached themselves to the information source, when they are now ready to make a decision on their next point of sale software, what do you think is going to happen with this provider? So what they are saying is that they are looking to see how they are going to capture the customer and not just make a one sale, but by the time they are done, the customer becomes part of their system and is increasing the transactions and the profit that they get from the customer. So they might start out with a white paper, there is no money to be made there. They invest in digital content, there's no money to be made there. But then when the customer gets to that part of the journey to buy into what they're selling, there's an assurance that there is credibility from this source based on all that they have provided. And that's what we mean by they are focused on continuously improving customer profitability. They're also going to be constantly asking customers, what do you want? What was your experience? Every single purchase will come with a survey. Every single webinar will come with a survey asking for your feedback. Why? We want you to come back. And so we want to ensure that when you are giving that feedback and you come back, you see the implementation of what you have recommended. Now you may have spoken to us on Instagram, but we would now be delivering the outcome of that engagement in this webinar. So again, we see little hints of how omni-channel works, right? So it's a big thing, you know, but it starts with you understanding what a customer-centric business looks like, how to embody it in your business processes. And then now you go on to the bigger stuff like investing in the technology that enables you to get the data, investing in the technology that tracks the movement and tells you all the information about the customer to influence their purchase at the end of the day, right? But why? What is all of it? Why we have to get so complicated? We were doing multi-channel. I had an online store. I have a big brick and mortar. The customer have the option to go to the store or to go online. Let's look at some stats. When e-commerce started to emerge as the next best thing, every grandmother and their children were stating, brick and mortar is dead. Brick and mortar will now be replaced by e-commerce. Brick and mortar will eventually become irrelevant. But one of the critical ingredients about omni shopping and omni shopping retailing is the volatility of consumer behavior. You cannot necessarily predict consumer behavior because as they evolve, as people, as generations change, as information becomes more readily accessible, they are now more empowered to make and declare what they want. So you benchmarking your business for the next 5 years based on what your customers are doing today. I've been in retailing and I would see a product move off the shelf in, it's like the hottest thing since sliced bread. I really don't know why, but I know that a lot of persons are buying it and I'm running out each week. And I continue to stock my shelf. And one day I just noticed that the shelf full of other products. It's not moving. Why? Because all of that was happening was being influenced by something that was going on in the ecosystem of consumers. Something was triggering that. It could be the next best thing that has knocked you out. It could be, fatigue. I don't want any more of this sauce, right? So what we would have seen is that a lot of persons would have seen the emergence of e-commerce. They would have seen traction. They would have seen persons going in droves now, going to do transactions on e-commerce. But let me explain these stats. And these are from the Harvard Business Review. And some of it is a bit tricky. So here it says 95% of retail sales belong to brick and mortar retailers. Does that mean that 95% of consumers are going to the brick and mortar store? That's not what they're saying. What they're saying is this retailer has multiple channels, but because they have a brick and mortar store, majority of the sales are going to them. Not the person who just has an e-commerce platform, not the person who just has a brick and mortar store, but the person who has multiple channels, including a brick and mortar store. We could get into the psychology of that, but that is what the numbers show. That one of your channels, being a brick and mortar store, enhances the ability for you to sell across any channel. The next stat says 61% use physical stores. That means they use physical stores in their purchasing decision. It doesn't mean that they made their final purchasing decision at the store. It doesn't mean that the transaction ended at the store, but they went into the physical store. Why is that? These are things that we need to understand when we are trying to analyze our consumer behavior, our customer persona, because we're moving away from target market now and looking at behavioral patterns of a particular persona. That means you create a person and look at how they get up in the morning, when they brush them teeth, which one are the things them do first, then which one. Why would all of that be important? Because at any point of those activities, they are engaging in buying decisions or that buying journey. And what is happening and what is unique about this particular persona that is going to be useful for you to incorporate in your processes, right? So 61% of them use a physical store. What is the psychology of that? We would have to research it, but it's an interesting thing to note. Why do we want to go into the physical store to make our purchasing decisions, even if we are not making our final decision in the store? It may have to do with trust. It may have to do with deeper things like wanting to know what this brand stands for. It may be more socially conscious things like, is the store prejudice? Is there any negative things associated with the store? And the only way I can experience is that going there and seeing it for myself, right? Now, 66% of online shoppers use offline stores before and after buying. So what this means is that within the decision-making process of buying and selling, as the consumer, and as a consumer who now has the right to determine my particular shopping routine, on any given day, I may or may not decide to use one or multiple channels. It is not just now, okay, one of the food places, Cut the Line, now delivers food, and they deliver food for KFC, so I'm no longer going to go to KFC. That's not so. I may feel like going to KFC today, or I may feel like going through a third-party delivery service. So what that means is that given the nature and the volatility and just the sheer nature of the autonomy of the consumer decides that they're going to use offline and online options, and 66% of online shoppers, which when we look at the first statement, e-commerce would replace brick and mortar, 66% of them use both online and offline sources of market access. Only 7% of customers are online shoppers only. I can't verify the data, but I know that that is somewhat, that makes some sense to me, because 7% of customers who make their decisions solely based on online would mean that the trust level would have to be significantly high, right? Only 20% of customers are offline shoppers only, which means only 20% of persons who buy will go into the brick and mortar only. And probably this is coming more from the more traditional market sources, the older generation. It's a speculation, but perhaps that's what is taking place here, because they may not yet be au fait or accustomed to buying a product that they can't touch based on just how long they have been shopping at particular brick and mortar options, right? 73% of customers shop across multiple channels during their shopping journey. And this is the one that we have here that says you have multiple touch points that engage with a customer and your product. And 73% of them are using all the various means of interacting with your product to influence their final decision. Is that true of you? Do you Google, then you go on Instagram, then you go on Facebook, then you go on, do you do that? Does that sound like something that is involved in your process when you go shopping? When someone says, you can try Burt's Auto Supplies, I find that the information coming to me now is I am looking to get an auto part. And typically when in the past, when somebody said try Burt's, you would go in the directory and you would look for the number, you would call them. Is the shopper doing that now? Maybe by the time I go on Instagram and start search for who is Burt's, I totally forget that I need a car part. The way persons are now curious and they want every bit of information. So they're gonna go on the website to see what price it is selling, and they go on another one. And they are doing so much interaction across these channels before they make a decision. And that's simply because the information is available to them. And that is why, if we are not organizing ourselves to evolve into this kind of business practice and to have the technology behind it, because it's really the technology that allows you to offer omni-channel shopping, then you will maybe become irrelevant, because we see here what the numbers are saying in terms of how people buy, right? A little bit more customer intel that is also interesting. The number of devices now outnumber the members of a typical household. Is that true? When I saw this, I started to ask myself, schools don't require that children either have a laptop or a tablet. The average parent may also provide a phone. So let's say you have 2 kids, that's 2 phones, 2 tablets, or 2 phones, 2 laptops. And then the parent typically has 2 phones, a laptop, and a tablet, and a TV, a smart TV. So when you're looking at the landscape, when you're going to say, all right, make a decision about where to place an ad as a retailer, where you're going to place the ad, then you're making a decision about having an e-commerce platform. Is it mobile optimized? Is it optimized for mobile? Because we tend to use our phones more than the other devices, right? So that is important to note when we are thinking about the future of retailing and how we fit into that future. What does this reality mean for us in omni-channel retailing? And what does it mean within the context of the consumer who does not want to close one channel to move to the next one in order to engage with you? They want a seamless situation that moves them from information to transaction. We also have access to a plethora of competitors, not just competitors selling the same product, but competitors selling products that can be used instead of yours. What does that mean for you? A good-looking e-commerce site alone won't cut it, because the whole context of omnichannel retailing and the whole context of customer-centric businesses means that they are looking for speed, they're looking for information, they're looking for convenience, they're looking for access anytime, anywhere that I find it convenient to do so, right? So do you have a 24-hour back-end system for fulfilling orders? What can you promise to your clients when they place an order? What's your turnaround time? What mechanisms do you need to put in place that no matter where they are contacting you, you can deliver that without giving them different instructions for each channel? 61% of customers who purchase online and pick up at a store make an additional purchase in the store. So I think the importance of this point is, yes, we're talking about technology. Yes, we're talking about consumers who are using multiple devices to make purchases. But no, we are not saying that brick and mortar is irrelevant, because there's something psychological or something that the consumer is demanding about having the store that is still relevant and still provides us. For some persons, they may just have an Instagram page, and the Instagram page may have just featured one product, but the retailer has maybe 100 products. But in this moment, at this present second, when that consumer clicked on Instagram, they saw a product that they liked. They decided that, okay, this is just a scenario. They decided, okay, I like what I see, I like what I hear, but I don't want to buy no pussy in a bag. Plus, you're close by, you're down the road. Let me go check you out. Plus, maybe when I did the chatbot, you said there are a number of other options available here. And then the customer might decide, okay, I'm going to pay you a visit. And when they step into your store, they see all that is to see. And that is important to note when you're looking at your digital strategies, your content strategies, your marketing strategies, and your e-commerce strategies, because you may not have all your logistics in place for all your products, but you may have it for two, and you can use the channel, the e-commerce channel, as an access point and an engagement point to entreat customers to visit other channels. But at the end of the day, they would still be able to purchase online, but you are not promoting those products because you don't have the capacity to promote it yet. But just by virtue of them being able to come into your location and they're already doing transactions with you online, it's up to you now to make the business customer centric, to respond to what they're asking for, which is, what if I want to buy this product that is not online, but it's in your store? What are you willing to do for that particular customer? And so that again is just some of the decisions that an omnichannel retailer has to make. But it sounds nice from the customer's end. It sounds like the perfect thing that you would want to offer to any customer. And we want to now go and do this in our business. One of the most important things that drive omnichannel retailing is data. Data and cross-inventory visibility. Remember now, one product available anywhere to any customer through your one business with different channels. How are you going to manage that type of inventory? Because it means that if you are promising a customer that they can see this product one place and get it anywhere on any other channels that you have, it means that your inventory management needs to be at optimum. It means that you need to know what is on your shelf or in your warehouse. It means real-time data. It means real-time movement of data, accessing data. It even means things like just monitoring. So in some retail stores now, they have what is called the smart, it's a smart retail store. That means when Janine walks in, they see that Janine entered the seafood aisle. They see that I touched and inquired about this seasoning, because all the products and all the shelves and wherever they're putting the trackers have QR codes and things that are monitoring your movement. And I may have taken up a chips and went to the cashier and purchased it. But when I leave, my software is telling me that I have an interest or a curiosity about aisle 6. And when I was on aisle 6, I spent 10 minutes longer than any other aisle that I went on. They may have customer data for me on file. And certainly an email campaign is going to be sent to me shortly, telling me about a new special on something that I was merely curious about. That's a level of technology that we are talking about. That's the level that they're taking it. So when we talk about data, we're not just talk about, you don't even know, you can't even count how much people step into the store. You don't have a counter, you don't have anything tracking that. So you don't know if it's 100 people coming, but only 50 buy. You don't know of the 100 who spent more than 5 minutes, who spent more than 10 minutes. That's the level of data analysis that is taking place regarding the customer, and then using that data to now send information across all the touch points to influence their buying behavior and their buying decisions. So it's quite tech, it's quite intricate and so on. But don't be scared. There are existing tools and software available, and there are companies that are currently doing it. So what are some of the types of data that you're going to want to be real-time moving at all your channels? What did I buy? Where did I buy it? How much do I have? How much sales? Now, this one that speaks about sales, we're not just talking about how much butter you're selling now, how much butter you sold on Tuesday. Or what you're talking about is that butter sales tend to go up on Tuesday. I may see 100 people buying butter sales. And it will also be customer specific. Remember, I spoke about Janine. So if I am using one of those loyalty cards and I'm in a smart store and they are able to track my grocery shopping patterns over time, after a while, I don't even need to do a list. They can probably recommend. They can probably tell me that I'm running out of ketchup and should buy one soon. So that's what we're looking at when we talk about the data. It's not just having the data and tracking numbers, it's tracking behavior, it's tracking patterns, it's tracking movement, it's tracking inventory, inbound, outbound, transfers. So no big notebook. We start there to get the business going. Everybody has to start somewhere. But look, we are going to digitize all the various processes in our business. We have to digitize that, because that's the only channel or modality right now that allows this type of data analysis, right? It's technology, and it means big investment, but the returns and what the data tells you, how much more strategic it can be, how much more direct and personalized you can be to me. Now, when I go into any retail channel now, whether it is online or whatever, sometimes it scares me the way Amazon, sends the book that I went and checked out the information on the book. So by now it knows that when I click on the book and I go to about this book, I have something about the book interests me. Something about the genre interests me. Something about the writer interests me. That's what you see happening when we talk about this kind of data analysis, because I don't know if there is something psychological about it, but it makes it very difficult to resist the author when it is directly personalized and aligned with what I am looking to buy or what I have an interest in, right? Then we're talking about the planning side of it. It helps us to forecast, because if you can anticipate my behavior and you can anticipate what my channel preferences are, you can anticipate how I use which one when, then you can forecast and you can even improve even more my particular customer experience, right? And of course, it allows you, you have to be in a system or have a kind of business that is constantly ready to scale. Because remember now, if you are actually successful at entreating the customer and giving them that seamless experience, then you chances are they are going to invite more of their kind, and you need to know, you need to not stop at customer 10 or customer 100. You must always be ready to go to the thousands if that is what you see happening, right? So it must be, you must look at scalability in this kind of business model and how swiftly you can move. And that means too that even the tools that you use and the technology that you use, you don't want to buy, I'm not a techie person, but you don't want to buy something with a little piece of memory leave after you put on all the fancy dancy. You don't want the store shut down because it short circuit with all the smartness that's in there, right? So you must build it in such a way that it is able to expand as customers respond. Now, in addition to the data management side, the omni-channel business needs to now look at integrated sales strategies, right? And integrated sales strategies are speaking about things like content marketing. That's a big driver in omni-channel retailing. Persons need information, and typically we provide information through some kind of content strategy. Integrated communication strategy. Now, when you go searching for information for omni-channel retailing, you're going to see omni-channel communication, omni-channel marketing, omni-channel inventory, because it means that even those processes are now becoming omni-channel. So just like how we would say, newspaper ad no work again, just do some Instagram ads with Observer. We don't need to give Observer no, really. We still buy the newspaper if it's even just to touch it and smell it, and it's something about it. But we're not reading any news in there. There's a phone going on. Anybody else experience that can tell me if it's not so. So we don't really know for sure which one of those communication channels will impact me. Similarly, that is why your integrated strategies now, your communication strategies rather, need to be integrated, meaning you're using all different types of channels, just like the retail channels, all different types of mediums, all different types of methodologies, all different types of content, whether it is people don't read again, they just want 5-minute video. Maybe 5-minute video don't work for me. Maybe 2-second video don't work for me. I want the book and the chapter and the verse, right? And maybe after I've read the book and the chapter and the verse, then I will go to the 5-minute video to just get to see if I get it, right? Smart Stores spoke about that. Gives you a lot of intel on my buying behavior and my buying history. Heat maps on the e-commerce side, you can look at different software options that allow you to see where customers are landing, which landing page, where are they landing on your website, which tab are they going to mostly, which ones they drop off as a abandonment, like where do they exit the site. So every time somebody reach, I don't know, maybe the first place they go is on About Us, or maybe the first place they go is in the fashion category, whatever is happening. These are tools that you can use to track how customers are moving on your online store. And in the in-person store, the brick and mortar stores, your store would have to now have some kind of smart feature to track that. I added QR codes here because I was having a conversation with a group of persons recently. And we're talking about how consumers are hungry for information when they are making purchasing decisions. We no longer just, oh, that soap look pretty, I'm going to buy it. No, they're going to take up the label, they're going to read the label, they're going to read. They want to know everything about that product. But naturally, for the purposes of aesthetics and just proper packaging and labeling standards and just the attractiveness of the product, you can't put everything on the packaging, right? So QR codes is a very useful tool for enabling customers now to just bring up their phone and search, and whatever you think they need to know, you put it on that link and you use just this little minute QR code. So maybe in the future or the near future, when we go to PriceSmart or when we go to Shoppers Fair or, Hilo or one of those, we won't see the little stickers that they stick onto the thing anymore. We may start seeing barcodes and QR codes and stuff like that. That would be very fascinating to see. But that's the kind of shopping experience we're talking about with omni-channel shopping. And I don't want to spend too much time going in here because these are just some tactics that persons use when they are talking about the sales strategy side of the omni-channel shopping, omni-channel retail business. At the end of the day, this is a technology-driven business model. You can't work around it. You can't go over it. There's no way to do it in human form. You can't do it manually. Even though you need to start thinking about your processes manually and how you are going to evolve. There is nothing digitally that wasn't mapped out manually. So you still need to start thinking that through manually. But ultimately, you have to invest in technology. How far and wide you take it, you can take baby steps, but you're not going to be able to go around it because you're going to need the analytics, which is a key enabler to study the customer's behavior. You're going to need to deliver frictionless shopping experiences via mobile optimized websites. And by frictionless, we mean when you think about Amazon and one click, frictionless, right? I don't have to go in my bag now and dig out the credit card and punching the 9 digits, I don't have to do any of that. I just store my information on one click. That's frictionless, right? Same thing for even some of the smart stores that you see them putting up now where you can just go in and you don't even need to do the swipe thing again with the one product. Once you pass the whatever device they have, it knows what's in your bag and it gives you a receipt and it says it takes it from your card and all of that. Frictionless, seamless. That's where we're going, right? Or that's where you want to go eventually. What are some of the challenges with this kind of business model and this kind of business overall? Technological barriers. First, there's the cost. Then there's the ability to understand it. Then there's the user experience. Then there's a team. Then there's adapting and just learning, constantly learning. And trust me, by the time you learn this, another one come out, right? So the investment sometimes becomes redundant even before you get a year out of it, right? Because you may have been a late adapter. So another barrier is the ability to synchronize these different operations that I spoke about. It's very, if you just think about inventory management and looking at that zone that was done regarding logistics and so on, it is quite involved. And sometimes you may not need to do, sometimes you may need to outsource that side of the business because it can get as big and as technical as possible that you can imagine, right? And when we talk about integration processes, we're talking about the sales channels. So my retailer now is connected to my my inventory system, my wholesaler. I'm not the wholesaler. I have a group of wholesalers and they are connected to my inventory management system. They are connected to my customer management system. Everybody is connected. We barely can trust each other to shake each other's hand, but this is where this is going, right? Integrating all the channels so that at the end of the day, your customer does not need to distinguish between one versus the other. Then there's enterprise resource planning, which are different types of software and tools that are used to bring all the different operations together, right? And so if you are not thinking about your business right now in terms of, first of all, what are these business processes that I'm talking about? We're talking about sales and marketing, production, HR, we're talking about admin, we're talking about inventory management. Just think about all the different nodules that come together to give the client that product for sale. And that is what we're talking about. All of that now needing to be integrated as one seamless data processing system that can tell you anything at real time. Another pitfall is the kind of financial investment that it will take for you to be able to invest this kind of model into your business. But I want to put a caveat here. I see some little small businesses doing a little hybrid of this type of business model. I don't even know if they said in their strategic planning, you know, we're going to do omni-channel shopping, but omni-channel retail management, but that's what they are doing because they have a process that allows a customer to see a product on Instagram. They will say to them, the store open from such and such. There's a particular fashion business. I can't remember the name now, but these young ladies are exceptional in their forward thinking and just their overall attempt at giving the best customer experience. They're putting on the clothes themselves, they're modeling, they're saying, oh, we have it in this size, they're saying how they can ship it to you, they're telling you what payment methods you can use, they're telling you when the stores are open to come, they can tell you that, okay, where are you, we're going to deliver it here. It's just fascinating to see that, you know, organically, they have decided that they want to find women everywhere in Jamaica and be able to give them access to the products that they're selling, but they're located in Kingston, right? And so they are doing some of it. So we talk about the big thing, but the financial investment will eventually become great if you want to take it to the mega type retailing, right? Adequate data management is key to point out. It's more than just having the data. It's more than just having a technology that generates the information. It's your ability to analyze the data and use the data that becomes useful. So you're going to need a business analyst maybe in your team. You're going to need some persons that are a hybrid of technology, math, and information gathering and reporting. You're going to start to now look at your team and the skill sets of your team and the agility of your business process. Because if you are going to now say you're a 24-hour business, then you may want to have a hybrid of work from home and so on. So all of these things become important in taking. It's not a monkey show. It's not a simple thing that you're seeking to do when you say you want to go into omni-channel retailing, right? What are some of the key steps if you want to think about now setting up this kind of operation? Determine your omni-shopping target market, the persona. Who are they? Because you're going to need to study them. You're going to need to study which channels they work with, how they work with them, what's the ratio, how which one works to influence the other, right? You're going to need to really understand who these people are, then study and map their journey. And by mapping their journey, we're talking about inquiring where they go along the touch points before they get to their decision, and how do they use each channel, right? Even though they can buy on any one of the channels, Some of the channels they use for information, some they use for comparison, some they use them in different ways. So you want to understand that. Then create a customer experience and a logistics system that responds to that need that you have identified, or to that pattern of behavior that you have identified. And then connect all your channels. You don't just want to have the channels, because then you would be doing multi-channel shopping. When you connect them and make them seamless and have a centralized data platform and a centralized ability to buy, then you are talking about connecting all the channels. Then you're going to have to retrain your staff. Every time you add a new channel, you have to retrain your staff. You don't want a situation where you start an Instagram page and none of your staff know, and a customer contacts via another channel, referring to something that occurred on one of the other channels, and they don't know how it works or what it's about. So you're going to have to constantly train staff. You have to adopt the notion that you're going to have to do continuous digital transformation. This is a digital business model. So it's a system. You have to understand how to do data management. Your technical competencies in your team will have to be improved, and definitely that hybrid is not just an IT person, because the IT person sees the network and all the juicy stuff going on in the back end, but that same IT person can learn how to analyze. They may have an analytic ability and can even write programs to be able to extract certain types of information. I won't get too deep into that. One of the things I want you to get into, and when I get to the next slide, you will see what I mean. Consistent branding and omni-marketing strategies. Makes no sense you have an omni-channel retail system and your marketing is only geared at one type of channel. Or you have a marketing campaign for your e-commerce, and then you have a marketing campaign for your brick and mortar. It must be seamless. So if I'm giving away coupons, it must can use on any channel. And one of the things you will find when you get into the math and the financial management of it, some promotional strategies hit the margins of some channels more than some, and some promotional strategies are more profitable on certain channels, but you have to offer it. So when you're doing the maths now, you have to break it across all channels to see if the promotional or marketing strategy is profitable. What's the performance? I really can't get into it in the webinar, but let's just say consistent branding and omni-marketing strategies. Your store posh or your website posh, and then you go into the brick and mortar and it don't look nothing like the e-commerce platform. Really boo-boo. So when we talk about consistent branding, messaging and everything across all channels, seamless, the same messages. Everywhere I go, it's the same thing, same experience, same customer standard, same quality standard. It's not a watered down version online and a more upscale experience in the brick and mortar, right? Explore interactive technology such as AI and I'm not really that affair with the technology side of it and what the terms are, but I know, for example, virtual reality, there are ways to incorporate now those experiences in the brick and mortar to make it more fascinating. In some brick and mortar stores, there isn't a product there. There isn't a physical rack and a shelf. They have these little codes and then just go put on the thing and then them say, you say, all right, I want to see this settee set in my house. And they say, carry a picture of your house and you put on the glasses and then put it in there and then start showing you all this, man. It can get real fascinating. Because remember, it's customer experience we're talking about, and customer centricity, and you have competition. Everybody can make the same thing. So what is it now that you're going to use to incorporate in this shopping experience to make it work for you? And always, always, always analyze your KPIs and your monitoring and evaluation systems, because the data is real time, the data is evolving. Remember, the consumer is also changing constantly. So you have to know, always look at the KPIs and constantly be evaluating those strategies that you're using. Some of the KPIs, just to give you a few, there is traffic generation. Remember, the omni-channel retailer is looking at long-term investment in customers. Now, when I see a customer walk into my store, or when I observe a particular person logging onto my website, or when I observe a particular person liking and engaging my post, something about that person must interest me. They're either influencer or they're a potential customer. There's something important to me. And so I must pay attention to traffic and who is coming, right? Activation or visitation, right? You need to see how they are performing, how this one person is performing across each channel. You need to look at engagement, so like product recommendations and having offers per visit and conversion rates on products, conversion rates on product offers. So you do a promotional campaign. What's your churn rate? Which ones they are more responsive to? Which ones they ignore? You have to be willing to bounce and move across, because some of it is a hypothesis. You have to infer based on the behavior. So you have to try different things. And when you are trying that, you're not just trying it for this one outcome. You're just trying it and then evaluate what information is sending back to you. It may not be what you sought to find out, but look at the information and how relevant it is, right? Then we go into trials. So you may see a number of persons say, first 30 months free subscription, your card will be charged, because they have confidence in the product that they are offering and that they can convert you by giving you free. Remember, they don't look at sales volume, they look at customer profitability. Conversion rates, how are the persons, the inflows and movements moving to? That's the ultimate thing. Retail, we're talking about is money, 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 money. But it's money with personality and feelings and empathy and respect and everything that the customer needs. And then now we would start to look at the long-term impact. So you would want to offer, loyalty points. You would want to appoint advocacy to promote the social whatever value of your product. You would want to acknowledge persons who have been shopping with you from the day one, right? So these are certain types of KPIs you want to track along the different channels. And remember too that you have multiple channels and you have one customer, right? You must know about all your customers eventually. Even though you may do an aggregate and you can group them together under one strategy, you must know about Tom Jones and Janine and Mary Jane, where all these KPIs are concerned, because it is very important where omni-channel shopping is concerned and omni-channel retailing systems. It's very focused on the individual. It's personalized. It's unique to me, Janine. It's not unique to persons between 20 and 25. It's unique to this shopper and how this shopper is interacting with your business. I wanted to bring your attention to some examples of brands that are engaging in omni shopping retailing for you to just check them out. Check out them channels, check out how they set it up, check out how they work, what's the processing like. I brought Home Depot as an example because I was able to witness a client who was calling customer service. So they call customer service to say that they're in some other state, or they moved from some other state to a new state and started their transaction in the previous state and completed their transaction in the new state that they were in. the transaction was completed via a home delivery, and the product was supposed to be now supported with somebody to come and do installation. And the information, all the customer needed to do was to give them this unique tracking number. And when the rep brought up the information, they were able to track every single detail that took place with this transaction from birth in the other state to now. So the question and answer, some of it is it's even like they are trained to say, we see here where this you came in on this data, because the customer wants to know that you have been paying attention to them. And that was just it for me as a brand and as an experience. It didn't matter now which branch, or was it online, was it in-person pickup or delivery. It didn't matter. I could go to any branch and have, well, that's the standard, that's the expectation, that you could go to any branch and inquire about a transaction that took place at any branch and get a response from the customer service rep, because the data management system had everything documented and could say to the client, this is what is going to happen. You have been scheduled for this appointment on this day, and this is the time and date. This is the person that will be coming to do your installation, who, by the way, is an independent contractor, not somebody that works at Home Depot, right? So check them out and look at how it works. Ultimately, what you want to do and what we have learned about retailing is that it is not so much the fixed thing, but it's the brand. It's what the brand becomes known for, and how agile that brand is in responding to the changing behavior of the consumer. Right? So today we started with single, then we went to multiple, then we went to omni. We don't know what's coming next. So at the end of the day, what we need to do is establish that this is our brand. This is what we want to do. We want to ensure that we are responding to customers' needs, no matter what those needs are, so that we can form a long-term partnership. Invest in your brand and market it, make it agile, keep it relevant. If you snooze, you lose. That's it from me. Hope information was helpful. Comment?
Any questions in the chat? I'm seeing a lot of comments. This information that we got from Janine is very informative. Any questions, any comments, you can drop it in the chat. Let me know. And remember that this session is recorded, and you can go by at least on Friday to see the recorded session on YouTube at JBDC Jamaica, or you can go on our Instagram page to see snippets. You can go on Twitter also and Facebook at JBDC Jamaica to see snippets from this session, as well as on YouTube. Any questions in the chat? Seeing something from Alexandra Brown. Would subscription or memberships be considered white papers too, or rather good research to find out the type of customer which would shop at the store, since if they're registered to the store, if they like it, and you can use the information as market research?
So typically what a white paper is the person preparing a document, a publication that is related to either the industry or the product and service that they sell, and the clients don't have to pay for it. So an example I gave was the point of sale provider. They know what they are doing is that they are studying. Remember now, for current pure point of sale systems, a lot of them are cloud-based. And for every retailer that they sell the software to, they have in the back end data analytics being formed. So they are using this data. They can tell retailers at the end of each year what consumer purchasing patterns were. And they would package this information. Some of them sell it and some of them give it for free. What they get in exchange is the number of retailers that will purchase their point of sale system from them. So a white paper is typically very, very informative in terms of research that the average buyer would not be able to do, but the research is relevant in some way to influence the conversion of the client to a purchase eventually. So they may say, all right, for omni-channel retailing, there is this ERP software or this inventory management software that can lock all your channels together and get you to know everything that's going on. I think like for e-commerce or digital marketing, there's like Sprout, and there are some of them that allows you to put all your social media on their platform, and they analyze it for you and they generate all sorts of things going on in there. What they do now is that they would offer free webinars or free publications on something specific to do with social media marketing generally that would be useful for the person who is using their particular platform. So that's a channel, because what is going to happen is that if I am querying something, I'm going to Google omni-channel shopping or omni-channel retailing, and I'm going to see several types of sites come up. And my original intention would be to understand omni-channel retailing and what it's about. But when I understand it and I'm now moving from inquiring, and awareness to trial, somebody may offer me, a 3-month trial of the platform that supports what they claim can happen in retailing if I buy this software. So I'm not sure if I was able to help it. It's a little bit different from subscription, but the mechanism that they use sometimes is subscription based. So they may say, this white paper, you put in this email and then you start getting, you're basically put on their emailing list, and you will constantly be getting emails from them on that. Or they may say subscribe and you get this portion of the offering free. And then if you want to upgrade and you want to see all the other features, so they might give you, the software may have 10 features and they give you access to 3 free, because they know that's going to stimulate your purchasing decision, because they just want you to try it. And then they convert that, and they have different subscription offers. So subscription is kind of like it's more like a payment method or a revenue stream, a type of revenue stream, a type of way to earn, versus a one-off transaction. So subscription does encourage long-term relationships and that kind of client building. And in that subscription process now, you can add on things for sale. It all depends on the type of business you're running and what you're selling and how your consumers behave to determine which ones to use. But what you would need to know about white papers is that you have to make sure that information is credible, because what you are trying to do is establish yourself as an expert in the industry or the field or the product and service that you're selling.
I hope that was helpful, Alexandra. There's another question. Oh, she's saying thank you. Remember that this session is recorded. You can go over to YouTube by Friday and see this session, as well as to binge watch our other sessions. And remember, we'll have another session coming up, not this Tuesday, but the other Tuesday, so stay tuned. Thank you for joining.